Mute yourself. So good morning, everybody. This is Lawrence Kazan Cassini in Florida. And I am extremely happy today. We've got a nice surprise for everybody. But as usual, I would be remiss if I didn't say my usual mantra: the slaughterhouse of failure is not in my destiny. I will persist until I succeed. Og Mandino. Have to tattoo that on your forehead and look in the mirror every day and remember that. I'd also like to ask everybody to make a little special prayer for Dan Burke, who's been kind of on a roller coaster with his health for the last 2 months, 6 weeks, 2 months. And today he's again going through a few more challenges. This next 2 weeks will be another lot of challenges. So a special prayer for Dan Burke, who's a rock solid person, member of our team. He's become a personal friend. But I want to mention something about that too, about Dan. I always talk about what I call about the suddenly syndrome. When we think that something suddenly happens, well, it usually is not suddenly that it happens, it builds up. And in our health, this is something that we've got to take care of, and not let it fester and become worse and worse, because then it's out of control. So I just wanted to mention that, in all our cases, take care of things when they happen, and don't procrastinate and let it get worse and worse. So there is no suddenly syndrome. Anyway, so today now I'd like to tell everybody and let everybody re-meet Dr. Joe Scalia. He is a chiropractor. He is my upline, and he's a person who I consider to be one of my best friends, a person who's absolutely rock solid, somebody I would never hesitate to call at 3 o'clock in the morning. If I was in San Francisco and he was in Florida, I'd ask him to come over there immediately and help me if I needed it. He's the sort of person that is a team player through and through. And I've learned a lot from Joe. And he and I were, I remember when I started, we were up until midnight on the last 2 or 3 nights of the month, putting in orders until, the last minute. And we were just busy all the time. And he helped me a lot with all this. So Joe actually took off a couple of, quite a long time. I'll let him tell you. So Joe could, apart from being a chiropractor and my mentor and team leader, could you tell us who you are? And first tell us who you are. Who's Joe Scalia?
Thank you, Lawrence. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Joe Scalia. I'm a chiropractic physician here practicing in South Florida. I was introduced to the scanner back in, let me just think here. I don't want to get this wrong. 2004, when it was in the second version of the scanner by Dr. Stephen Moore, and brought the technology into my practice. I was fascinated by it when it was brought into the practice. The biomarker was pretty astounding looking at it, but incorporated into the practice and worked with people such as Lawrence for the first rollout of it was the S2, and then it became later on, as we know, the S3. We dealt with all the calibration putties. We waited for the scanner to warm up, and like I like to say, we walked uphill in the snow barefoot both ways. But it was a lot of growth, a lot of involvement, and I can't believe how many years have gone by. And as Lawrence mentioned, I've been on hiatus here for several years, raising a family. I've got an 8-year-old son, an 11-year-old daughter, back in practice full time. But what always stayed with me were the lessons that not only this business specifically taught me, but the mentorship such as Scott and Wes and Steve and all the knowledge we pick up in the fly-ins and all these tidbits and tools that we go along the way. They become part of your toolbox of life, and wherever you need to apply it, you have it there. And it's something that I think a lot of us take for granted at times. I'll speak for myself. I did. But when you need that rock solid foundation of what to do in certain circumstances, the leadership is always part of you. It gets instilled in you, and at times it's a little bit frustrating when you want to have that kind of leadership team mentality, and you're around people who not necessarily ascribe to that mentality. And in order to do well in this business of Nu Skin Pharmanex, it really is helpful to have a team mentality and abundance mentality, and that's really what I miss most, and that's what I want to get back to sooner than later. Of course, we all know what's taking place here. I'm sure I haven't been on any of these calls, but I'm sure the pandemic has been discussed, and how social media now is front and center, how working from home is front and center, how health conditions that the global population is experiencing are now common household discussions. Whereas when I was involved with this company earlier in my late 20s, it wasn't a front and center discussion for myself personally. And sometimes people blew off, the importance of immune system health, antioxidant health, meditation, things that really matter, like your family health, mental health, financial well-being. All that stuff was there, and people just, people would make mention of it, but now it's front and center at the kitchen table discussions, so to speak. So I'm excited that I'm on a personal journey. Again, when I learned about a lot of these conditions that I would be treating when I was in chiropractic college, I was 21 years old when I started, and I finished when I was 25. And osteoarthritis and overuse syndromes and all these things were kind of like, yeah, you hear about them. And then now that I'm in my late 40s almost, and I'm experiencing the situations myself, whether it be metabolic circumstances for my patients, or health challenges that I've had to endure by making maybe less than the best decisions. I've taken getting back into shape in a lot of ways seriously. It's a goal-setting time of the year, beginning of the year, but I set myself up with a goal earlier in the year to lower my BMI and really start taking my health seriously. I was dealing with a personal challenge, a metabolic syndrome, kind of like a diabetes. If for those that are not aware, I had dealing with gout, and gout is a condition where you build up uric acid crystals in certain joints of the body, particularly in the toe, and it comes from eating highly purine-rich foods such as meats and so on and so forth. And it became an urgent matter. It's the number one inflammatory arthritis that Americans experience. And if you know anybody who suffers from the condition of gout, it's not a fun trip. So I decided to go on a reactive journey of getting my weight back. And the good news is, here I am, 41.2 pounds lighter than I was. So with that, like I said, health is part of the front and center of the discussion. I went over Lawrence's house, re-scanned myself, and I was delighted to see that I was in the green zone, which was something that was very hard for me to do after all these years, because as much as I was doing the business, it wasn't really, I could have been walking the walk and talking the talk a little bit better. So there's a personal journey there involved, and there's a global journey that we're all going to have to go on as we see what's unfolding here. And I'm excited to come back on board here. I'm very proud of the leadership that Lawrence has displayed. We've been able to develop quite a phenomenal friendship, and we've become essentially family that we've chosen for each other. And he's always been in my life. He's always been supportive. He's understood where I've been, and he's a great example on how to take leadership and pass it on, and help people develop the teams and whatever dreams they wish are possible for themselves. And I'm excited to come back on board and see what we can do, what we can build with more intentions. I don't look at what happened in the past as any kind of failure. I look at it as just a success. I mean, I was able to, achieve the position of emerald here with the company, and enjoyed all the trips along the way, Deer Valley and the Ruby, the trips. Just a really good experience. The company is, I don't have to resell the company to everybody here in the call, obviously, but like I said, there's a lot of things we take for granted. The leadership that we have, the camaraderie we have, the fact that we're all in a mentality of building personal growth, becoming more, being more, helping others. But what really is different for me in this go around is, I think in my late 20s, I was looking more of having things, and therefore I can do things and then be happy. It's like the order that most of Americans have been in. I'll speak for myself, is more of a have, do, be mentality. And I've heard that before, and it was in passing, but I have like a couple of analogies. It's if you ever talk to someone about why they haven't gone where they want to so far in their life, they'll say, I don't have the time, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the equipment to exercise, or I don't have a gym membership. And a lot of people get focused on that, especially in a consumer society, about not having something. But if you really stop and take a moment, if you think about people who are a certain way, they don't necessarily have to have certain things. It's more about being. So the two examples I use are, if you meet somebody who is a cheaper person, good with their money, frugal, thrifty, whatever you want to place it, they will find a way to get what they want at the discounted price, even if it involves traveling across town to buy an extra roll of toilet paper or a tube of toothpaste or whatever they're buying. It's like, why would you go across town and spend all that money on gas to go get something at another store? They won't even have an answer with it. I don't know. That's what I do. That's what I am. They might not even say it that way, but when someone is thrifty, they just like that across the board. And I think about my mother and what an amazing cook she is. Most of our moms are, if we're blessed. And she might not have all the ingredients to make something, but if she's got 4 or 5 out of the 7 or 8, you're going to be eating something in about 10 minutes that's very close to what you thought you would have. And that's because my mom is a cook. She enjoys cooking. It's what she is. So I decided, I decided I had a 22-year-old rusty bicycle, and let me just jump on it and start cycling and start measuring how many calories I'm burning versus the calories I'm consuming using new wearable technologies, such as the Fitbit watch or Apple Watch or whatever you use. And I just started playing a game. I started playing a game of, every pound is 3,500 calories. And if I want to lose 20 pounds, that's 70,000 calories. So every day I have to run a deficit. And I basically gamified a challenge, just like we can gamify building our organizations with Nu Skin. And I started that 8 weeks ago. And in 8 weeks, I think it went down like 22 or 23 pounds or something like that. It came off quickly, because what I found was, in the mornings, I wasn't thinking about doing bicycling. I became a cyclist. I mean, I just came back from a 30-mile bike ride. On Sunday, I went out for a 42-mile bike ride, and then I went out again for a 28-mile bike ride. So that's just under 70 miles. And I come from a background of cross-country running, so it's natural to me. But the point I want to make is that I'm doing what I am. And then who I am in my heart is Jojo on a bicycle in New York City going around the block for absolutely no reason. And when I see Lawrence doing this business and what he's become a very consistent, resilient, supportive leader. And when you see people doing what they are, it almost becomes effortless. They don't have to think about what they're doing. They're not really they're not focusing on what they have. They're just out there being who they are. And it just kind of, a lot of things opened up for me. It's like an epiphany that we're at this point where you can choose what you want to be. And I believe this whole pandemic situation has made people, if you really take a look and see what's really important. It's my health, my family, financial picture, the safety of one another. We really get to reevaluate everything during this reset, so to speak. And and it puts things in perspective. And it's just nice. It's unfortunate that we're going through this set of circumstances here. It's been now 10 months, but it's good because it allows us to pivot and refocus on what's important. And I'm not discrediting any kind of suffering that there's been out there. People have lost people along the way. I'm not saying minimizing that, but for people who realize what they need to focus on more, it's an opportunity for us to create the lives we want versus waiting for things to kind of happen and just people taking to the trails and going out. Or I looked at it, I said, okay, the gym is closed, but the outside is open, open 24/7. So if you really want to, you could just keep going around the block near your house. So that's really what I wanted to touch on is be, do, have versus have, do, be. Focus on what you want to be. And sometimes you can look back in your life and see when you were happiest and try to emulate those circumstances now with what's going on. And you get closer to doing things almost like second nature versus going towards the resistance. A lot of times people say, I'm doing keto, I'm doing paleo, I'm doing this diet so they can have better body, but they really just have to become the lifestyle. And it's been fun, and I've met some people along the way. I've networked with some people that are pretty serious about this sport, and I'm enjoying it, and I want to kind of translate that ability to just keep on going with what we're doing here, and kind of change gears, so to speak, and have fun in the process. Of course, there are going to be challenges. Lord knows there's been plenty of headwind over the past years that we dealt with this, rejection, so on and so forth. But what I've seen Lawrence do is he's accepted the challenges. When I first met him, he was absolutely a technophobe and really scared of computers, and I can't be bothered with this and that. And now I'm like seeing him, he's sharing screens and he's shooting Zooms and he's running things. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, he's just great, And and a lot of times we've had discussions about events about the rah or the getting people psyched up, and guess what, people need that, and that's what they serve a purpose. There's a reason the company does what they do. We have to trust the leaders, and we have to trust the steps that are taken there as far as recognition, and because those are the bookmarks and the chapters of the bookmarks of the chapters of your new skin journey. So I'm very grateful for being introduced to this business. I'm grateful for what it's provided for me and my family, the leadership and the mentorship. I'm grateful that it's there and you can kind of get back into it when you want to. And I'm grateful for the team that I've built and that I get to work with, and the new people that I get to meet. And I'm looking forward to doing great things, Lawrence. So thank you very much for having me.
Hey, Joe. Fantastic. Thank you. So a couple of pearls of wisdom here that I picked up, or at least some of the message. One of them is discipline. You're having had your goals of your own personal journey of wanting to, become healthier and lose weight and take care of your gout and all these things. These are things that discipline is one of the biggest assets that we need to learn, because not everybody, me for one, am not a disciplined person. I'm kind of like all over the place, ADD or whatever it is. But discipline is one of the key foundations of success in whatever goals we choose to have. The other thing is focus on what we have and not what we have, focus on what we have rather than what we don't have. And in fact, if you think about it, there's almost nothing we do not have. We have absolutely everything. There are people who do this business that, don't even have internet, or they have other issues that are much greater than what we've got. And yet they're focused on that, and they try very hard to make it happen, and they do. The other thing is, you say become whatever it is that we're doing. So become the cyclist. So we were always talking about the scanner and becoming a scanner operator and so on. We become this business. This is something that I think is a difference. We don't do this business, we become this business. And Joe, I think that's a wise way of saying it, you know, doing what you are. So, but we are this business. So we do this because this is who we are. And I think that's the difference between a professional and an amateur. An amateur is somebody that will just dabble in something when, you know, for fun and whenever. But a professional is actually head and foot and swimming in it, you know, full steam. And so doing who you are, doing what you are, and being who you are. I think those are two important things. So gamifying the challenge, I like that too. When you make the challenge a game, I've always talked about, you know, my own attitude about things, which when I had never ever in my life washed a dish, never. And when I came to the States, you know, I like to entertain and so on. So, you know, we'd entertain, we'd have, you know, 10, 15 people over. And then I'd look at the sink and I'd think, OMG, it'll take me 4 years to clean all this stuff, even though with a dishwasher and all the rest of it. And I would get in there afterwards and I'd complain about the grunt work and, oh, geez, was it worth having these people and so on. And eventually one day I decided that I'd almost finished. It was the same amount of dishes, the same number of people, the same dishes, the same everything. But I just turned the attitude to say, oh, I'm nearly finished. It took exactly the same time to clean all those dishes, but in my mind, it went in a minute because
I thought, not to interject, I used that today when I was on my ride because I see these antennas in the distance and they're 8, 9, 10 miles away. And I'm like, I'm almost done. And I think about you, like, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Like Lawrence says, I'm almost done. And it's like, it's done because you say it's almost done. It's funny you bringing that up because I was thinking about you today.
There you go. So it's an attitude. It's a mindset. That's all we got to do is think about our mindset and our attitude and how we look at things. How do we look at an issue? How do we look at a problem? The other thing that's important that you mentioned, one word, pivot. And, you know, right now, I've got a whole talk about this pivoting thing and about not only that, but it's for another talk. But it's actually important to be able to have the flexibility of the mind to be able to change course and to be able to adapt and to be able to find another way. But not only for us, we've got to find another way for our team. And if we adapt, if we're flexible in our thinking, and we can then pool our mental resources with the team, we can find a way to change the direction of the sails of our team to navigate whatever challenge there is. So it becomes important for us to be able to understand that we need to have to be able to call on the resource of flexibility, adaptability, and never forgetting the end game in mind. That the goal is the goal. That's the goal. That's where we want to go. How we get there is how we've got to keep adapting and modifying to that. So, so Joe, I really appreciate you, you know, being on again in the team and being our leader. I'm absolutely delighted that you're there, and you're a total asset to everybody because you're a very big team player. And you know, you're a person that I have always respected and loved. And this for me is a new chapter in my life too, because it's an enhanced strength. Now I'm on a turbo. Now we got a booster. So, you know, these are things that happen to kind of just out of the blue. We get something happening and we're saying, oh, wow, here's something that's fantastic news. because it's not always all bad news. We got to also understand that there's a hell of a lot of good news too. And actually, you're part of that good news for the whole team, Joe. So we usually leave the last few minutes for anybody who has any questions or anybody wants to say something. Please feel free and unmute yourselves. If you have any questions or anything like that, please do so.
Hey, Lawrence, it's Jim, and thanks for bringing Joe on. It's a good, it's just an excellent example of the chapters we see as all of us go through this business, isn't it? You know, and it's showing that that the waters run deep, the waters get shallow, and you know, we're watching Joe, you know, running out of the water. So you know, that's probably not a good analogy, but also, you know, another great thing from this is you can just sense the friendship that you have with Joe. And Joe said he got away from the business for a long time. That obviously didn't diminish that friendship, did it?
No.
That's when his little protege just kept working and working and working. And so look what comes out of the relationship now. It's actually pretty fascinating.
I appreciate the little protege because I'm 20 pounds overweight too. So.
We're going to work on that.
I like the analogy of you doing the dishes, Lawrence, because I always time myself of emptying the dishwasher. How long will it take me to do that? Or how long is it going to take me to make that bed? And you're amazed. It's like, well, that was nothing, right?
Yep. That's Dee Dee.
Oh, sorry.
No, they got that attitude, Dee Dee. It's great.
Welcome back, Joe.
Hey, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Great call. Joe, it's really a pleasure to have you back. We haven't actually met in person yet. We've talked a little bit on the phone in the past few years, once or twice, I think, and it's just a pleasure to know you. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you even better. And I love the analogy of your mother not having all the ingredients, but she made something, you know, out of what she had available. And it reminds me a little bit of Napoleon Hill, who mentions that, you know, we can create something out of nothing with our mind. That's one of the abilities of our mind. And then I thought about something else I saw a few years ago in the tropics. There were some kids throwing rocks at monkeys. There are plenty of rocks on the ground. They're throwing these gravels just to pester the monkeys. And the monkeys had nothing to throw back. But you know what? Monkeys can make something to throw back. And they did.
I'm sure they did. You know, that's my definition of entrepreneurship, is making something from nothing. And I think, you know, and my strong suit, I discovered with a lot of the personal growth programs I've taken. I've become a landmark graduate and so on. I realized that when I'm not in my rackets or, you know, the negative ways of being that we can experience in life, my strong suit is resourcefulness. And when we can go to our resources and make something of it, that's when we know we're building something. And that's what entrepreneurs do. They get something from nothing and create something, and you go, wow. And everybody says it's impossible until it's done. So just keep with it and just be persistent. Good stuff. Thank you, Mike. And I think we did meet once over in Naples near that juice cafe or something like that. It was in like one of those little bars.
Long time.
Joe was a lot heavier than you wouldn't have recognized him, Mike.
Yes, exactly. You probably met my heavier twin.
And you know, here's just a little quick something. I actually introduced Joe to Landmark, and then Joe he took it and he excelled. He became an instructor and he did the whole thing, and he
Lawrence, or where the pain might be for somebody, or where they're experiencing the loss of power, freedom, or self-expression, and you can say, hey, this is what you want to create in your life. You want more time with your family. This is a bridge that can help you do it. It's called Nu Skin. Hey, this is what you're dealing with, you know, with your health. You know, of course, talk to your doctor, but there's something that can help you along the way. It's these products. Or financially, they might be hurting, and they see there's a way to have an exit strategy or a way to build additional income. And those conversations, as much as, you know, they do come up naturally and organically, so to speak, as the conversation, you know, as things come up, and then you listen for that. And it's almost like, you know, diagnosing some type of syndrome or an issue that you're dealing with, you know, as diagnosticians of life, so to speak. So cool stuff.
All right. So thanks very much, Joe. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jim and Mike, for your comments as well. Don't forget on Monday, we've got Scott Bennett's call at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And on Wednesday, Kent and Dr. Mancy at 9:30 also. And, you know, we're at the beginning of the year. I don't know who of you is wanting to go to Waikiki, but it reminds me that when on one of these success trips, we had one that was to Deer Valley and to the Montage Resort. And I remember on that one, Joe and myself, and I think we had about 5 or 6 couples on that trip. And, you know, it's a lot of fun when you've got your team going with you. So let's make a little mental note right now for all of us to qualify for the trip to Waikiki with our teams. And I think that's something that I think is worthwhile. We've got 6 months to do it. There's no excuse. I have a little thing here. It says no excuse, no more excuses. We have a book about that, which it's called No More Excuses. So let's do it. Let's all go to Waikiki. Thanks very much for being on the call today, everybody. Thanks, Joe, Mike.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Joe.
Everybody. Have a good week.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, Lawrence.
Bye.